We're on live Google Hangouts, chapters 11 and 12. Speaking of busy Thanksgiving seasons, I love that these two chapters combined end up on your short week. So I know some of you have already decided you're going to take it early. Hope that went well, but some of you are going to wait till Wednesday, and I hope you get all the study in. Chapters 11 and 12 build on basically what we are. We're at the end of the noun system and the end of the adjective system, and now what Mounts is starting to do, he's introduced you to the third declension. He's introduced you to how these things function syntactically in a sentence. And so what he's going to begin doing now is starting to tack on the little features and things that you're going to see that are outside of the verbal system. So pronouns become an important part, and he separates into two chapters your pronouns. Your first, chapter 11 here, is going to be both your first and second person pronouns. And those pronouns you're going to see everywhere. They do decline in first person, second person, third person, and they do decline in the sense of also nominative, dative, genitive, or nominative, genitive, dative, accusative, both singular and plural. But what your first and second person pronouns do not have is they do not have gender. So, which makes sense, right? Because in English, we don't differentiate gender. If I'm talking to Matthew, I would say you. If I were talking to Aaron, I would say you. There's no difference between those, right?
Right.
And both of you would refer to yourselves as I or me. And so there's no gender difference in the first and second person.
Okay.
But you do have to remember, so when you're that's important because when you're parsing and you get to that gender category, you're not going to write anything. There's in your first and second pronouns. There's no gender to write. And that's one of the reasons why Mount separates the third person pronoun to chapter 12 is because there's more to it. Third person pronoun does carry gender with it. The pronoun it functions a lot like an adjective in a sentence. It declines a lot like an adjective, but the way it's a little different in the sense that it gains its it agrees with its antecedent. Which are you guys comfortable with the term antecedent?
Yes, I am.
You are? Okay. It agrees with its antecedent in number and gender. So that's one thing you'll have to be thinking of as you look at a sentence. But it gains its case from its function in the sentence. Its case is not attached to the antecedent or anything else. Make sense?
Right.
So if it's functioning in the sentence as a nominative, it'd be a nominative, just like anything else. Pronoun, as usual. I like 11.5 on page 92, gives a little bit of summary of how it's very similar to the English pronoun. It replaces a noun. Its case is determined by its function in the sentence, its number of person by its antecedent, and first and second person pronouns have no gender. That's all the same in English. And then you see your Greek forms. You have in your little paradigm there in 11.6, you have your Greek forms and the way they decline nominative, genitive, dative, singular, or accusative, nominative, genitive, dative, accusative. You see your first person and your second person, and then in parentheses, you've got some pronouns there. Those are considered your emphatic pronouns.
We haven't talked about that before.
Say what?
We haven't talked about that before, have we?
The emphatics? No, not necessarily.
Okay.
But you're going to see these pronouns used specifically when the author is trying to contrast two different people, or the author is wanting to make a very emphatic statement, or a lot of times behind a preposition.
Okay.
You're going to see an emphatic pronoun. But it's just letting you know that for like your genitive singular first person, mu, you may also see emu in the sentence. And it's the same word, it's just emu carries with it a little bit more emphasis. The author's really trying to hit something. So, couple things to watch out for is that your nominative, your plural first person and your plural second person pronouns are the exact same except for the first letter.
Right.
So you can remember that however you want. Mounts recommends, and I do too, recommend remembering it as Sue, oo. So, because you know Sue is the second person singular, you,
Yeah.
and it rhymes with oo, which starts the plural pronouns who, you, who, you, who. So, like the chocolate drink, you, who. That's how I remembered it. And so, anytime I see who mice, I know that that's second person because it goes with you, who.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. But anyway. So as we're going through, it gives you a little bit of information about accents and emphasis, how to parse, translation procedures, how to look at translation. And then in 11.11, chapter 11 gives you the more on the third declension. And they're going to give you stems like tau and delta. Hey, Tiffany, how are you? I think Tiffany's there. Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So there's a tau and delta stem in 11.11 that on page 94 that what Mounts is starting to do is he gave you the third declension in the last chapter, but now what he's doing is letting you know, hey, there's a few little outliers to the nounal system that we need to pull in. These things, these forms didn't fit really perfectly with the whole framework Mount set up, and he's just trying to get you to see these. So you see in 11.11 the tau and delta stems. You can see as a paradigm how they decline, and you can look at that and you can understand it. I recommend you reading through that really well. And then 11.12 and 11.13, you're going to see the consonantal iota shifting, the decline there, and that has a unique way of declining. The consonantal iota in 11.13, he explains that it used to be a vowel, but that vowel dropped out of use long before Hellenistic Greek, long before the Koine Greek of the Bible, but it still has reactions with other letters as if it were a vowel. So it kind of causes this awkward declension pattern that's there because it is a consonant, but it smells like a vowel kind of because it used to have a little vowel to it, and so with that, it just makes things a little weird. And you're going to find the same thing as we flip the page and you get to row. The row causes some problems like that as well. Yes. Come here. Let me open it for you. I'm sorry, guys. I know you can, but I want to spare the carpet. Come here. All right.
I can do that too.
I know you can. I love you. All right. Will you shut the door? Give me. Okay. All right. Go shut the door. Okay.
And Daddy?
Yes.
Wait. A 5 and a 4 makes 9.
You're right. 5 plus 4 equals 9. You're awesome. Okay. Sorry, guys. So you see the declension of pater. Now pater is goofy because even Mounts kind of indicates that we don't really know what's going on. And some of these patterns, the reason that he shows you these is because they're so unique that Mount says we really don't have any information about how kind of the etymology of these words, how these came about. What we do know is that you can if you just be aware, if you'll know these paradigms, if you look at them, you don't even have to memorize them, but if you look at them and you use what you already know, because the endings look very similar, if you use what you already know about the paradigms, you can manipulate, you can engineer what is happening with this word. But we don't know where these words came from. So even like pater, there's some confusion on what the actual root is of the word. And even Mounts reveals this by saying that he says right there at the beginning that pater is formed from the root pater, P alpha tau epsilon rho. But in your vocab, the root doesn't have an epsilon in it. So it's kind of a, there seems to be two different roots here. Does that make sense? Yeah. So even Mounts doesn't know what's going on. It's just one of those things that you shrug your shoulders and you say, I don't have to know. All I need to know is that in order to be able to translate Scripture and know Biblical Greek, I need to understand that. I need to just look at that and understand that there's something weird going on.
Right. So with 11 point...
If you're going to interrupt me, you might as well say hey. You're not going to say hey? Okay. All right. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
So with 11.11...
Yes.
So I'm trying to see what's weird about these words. Like for the first one, karit.
Well, it goes from less weird to weirdest, if that makes sense. 11:11 looks pretty similar. I think the reason he has 11:11 here is because back in chapter 10, he didn't deal with any of the dentals. And the dentals are that, remember the square of stops, is the tau delta theta. And if you remember the rule, when a dental comes in contact with a sigma, what happens?
It drops away.
Right, it leaves. It can't handle it, right? Sigma's too hot. It knows that it can't stay in the room, so it just takes off.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
And so that's what happens here, and he wants you to see these are some words that carry that dental. You have a tau ending and you have a delta ending here that he's showing you. Right. And this is how it'll manifest itself.
Okay.
So if you notice, the tau drops out in the nominative singular and in the dative plural.
Right.
Okay? But other than that, this is a fairly normal paradigm, right?
Right.
But as you get to the pistis, it gets a little more weird. There's still a recognizable pattern, and he even gives you the rules down here that if it butts up to a vowel, if the ending has a vowel, then it switches to an epsilon. The iota switches to an epsilon. Okay? Except for, he says, except for the dative plural. The dative plural, by the way, throughout all of everything seems to be like the weird one. The dative plural doesn't like anybody. So, but he pretty much says the general rule is that if the ending begins with a vowel, then it's going to be an epsilon. If it begins with a consonant, it's going to be an iota, all except for the dative plural. And so there's even a recognizable pattern with the pistis. But then the last paradigm, the patar and the hudar, that one's so unrecognizable that it's kind of like we're not even sure, because it looks like the root would be, according to the genitive singular for patros, it looks like the root would be p alpha tau rho, but that doesn't explain why an epsilon shows up and an eta shows up. That makes the roots weird because the root shouldn't be changing.
Right.
But we just don't know what happened there. And he even makes that kind of sound interesting down at when he talks about the hudar. He says this stem of hudar appears to end in a tau because of looking at the genitive singular. You would see upsilon delta alpha tau. He would say, as can be seen in most of its forms, but when there is no case ending, nominative accusative singular, the original final row appears.
Yeah.
And so these words are literally making up letters and putting, not make-believe, but just like, hey, we're going to throw in another letter into the mix. This isn't even this is an awkward shift, and there's no real explainable reason other than something has happened, something's been dropping out or changing. And these words do, everything in the declension on these has been done for the ease of pronunciation. And that's really the key. Because the tau rho is going to be the hard pronunciation. And so you can't really pronounce a tau rho by itself. That would be awkward. So they try and put a vowel in between them. And so for pronunciation, they're making a weird declension pattern.
Gotcha.
And so it's kind of like I said, they're additional patterns. He goes from the normal to the little more weird, and then to the weirdest on 11:15.
Okay.
And then he just says you don't have to memorize the paradigm. He just wants you to recognize it, see it, look at it.
Okay.
So okay. So, guys, I'm really sorry. Will you give me like 2 minutes to yell at my children? I just looked out the window of the building and they're playing in the water and it's cold. So it's weird and they shouldn't be doing it. So hold on one second.
Hey, Tiffany.
Hey.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Getting over a cold, but I'm doing fine.
They just came in here, so I was.
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
What?
What are you doing for Thanksgiving?
See ya.
We're going to go see my family. We're having combined Thanksgiving with both, so that's going to be weird.
Yeah, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
Okay, my wife showed up, so that's good. My kids will live now. They had a chance of dying with me.
Hero to a rescue.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so are we good with chapter 11 to move on to chapter 12, or do we have any more questions, like outstanding questions about 11?
No, it's just like a bunch of weird rules, like you were saying. So it's just kind of remembering, oh, this is a weird word. Is kind of how I'm seeing it.
Yeah, chapters 11 through 14 really start requiring some creative brain power. You have to start looking at words and going, wait a minute, I think I know what's going on here, and trying to come up with a word. But for Mounts, the reason he gives you all these paradigms is because it's important to Mounts, and it's important to you, that you are able to actually come back to the lexical form, that you're able to make your way back to the lexical form. So you can then figure out what the word means and things like that. Because it's not a matter of charis or elpis or pistis or patar or hudar. These words just represent a pattern. What happens when you're reading your Greek Bible and you come across a word you don't know and it's declined like patar? For Mounts, it's important for him that you look at that and you go, wait a minute. I know what's going on. This epsilon, and hold on, the genitive, okay, I know what's going on here. And you would be able to work your way back, even if it's by trial and error, you'd be able to work your way back to the lexical form so you can look it up and get the definition of the word. Now, I know that sounds tedious in a world where you can hover your mouse over a word and it'll just tell you. But for Mounts, that's what's important, that you as a student are able to create your own path back to the lexical form and the definition of the word.
Okay.
So, chapter 12, third person pronoun, and so much more, all at the same time.
Yeah.
So, see you, buddy. The third person pronoun, it is just like the first and second person pronoun. However, it differs, at least in the it differs in the fact that it has gender. Okay. Now, here's the thing: is that English, we have gender also, he, she, it, right? Third person pronoun. Where we get off track from the Greek, or the Greek off track from us, I think we're a little later. But where we get off track, thank you. Where we get off track with the Greek is that in our plural, third person plural, we abandon gender. So if it's a group of ladies, we'd say them or they. If it's a group of men, we would say them or they. There's no difference in the gender. In Greek, however, there is a difference in gender. This, by the way, just as a little side note, sometimes creates theological issues, because in the Bible, when a crowd is referred to, a majority of the time, it's just a custom that it's going to be in the masculine plural. Them or they. And we've all heard the theological, they only counted the men or this or that. But that doesn't exclude women. So you need to be careful when you get into, you're really digging into Scripture and you see a masculine plural, and you just immediately jump to, oh, that means it's nothing but men there. That's not true.
So you're going to be hiring women at your church now?
We have women on staff. What do you mean?
I was teasing. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
That was
Yeah,
a joke.
No, we do hire women. My wife is on staff here.
Okay, I didn't know.
She's hot. Yeah.
It was too great of a setup for a great joke on the complementarian debate. You know?
Hey, who is that? Is that Sharon?
No, it's Matthew.
Oh, is that Matthew? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, that's shut up.
Oh, that just came on. Yeah.
Yeah, it just came on. Okay,
I
I'm
don't look
going
like Sharon. Yeah.
because I about made a big mistake if that wasn't Sharon. So, yeah, no, Matthew. Definitely. The truth is that in the Greek, we're gonna come across that quite a bit, and you need to understand that when talking about a group that maybe Jesus is talking to, it's going to generally use the masculine, but that doesn't exclude ladies being in the group. That was the norm in the day. But Greek does carry with it the gender in the plural, whereas ours doesn't. So that's going to be a little weird for us. But when you go to parse a third-person pronoun, you have to include with that, you have to parse the gender, whereas you didn't with the first and second-person pronoun. So there's not much more to add other than the fact that altos becomes a pretty versatile word. So altos is used for multiple things, typically emphasis. But altos, in its most common form, is used to indicate the third-person pronoun, just the basic pronoun, and that's how it's often used in Scripture. However, altos can be attached to words, and it becomes more of like an adjective providing emphasis, and so it can modify a word either in the predicate or attributive position. And you'll see down here in 12.8 that Mounts, actually it moves a little, 12.9, Mounts begins to explain some of this, that when altos shows up and it seems to be modifying a noun, it's going to look a little different, because we know that a pronoun gets its number and gender from its antecedent, in its case from its function in a sentence. But when altos is functioning as an adjectival intensive, it matches its noun like an adjective in case, number, gender. Okay? And what that does is you should be able to see that and recognize it, that is providing an intensive nature. And when it's providing intensive, it's either reflexive or the third use, it's identical. And so the reflexive use would be like the apostle himself. You'll see in 12.9, altois ha apostolos would be the apostle himself, or alta ta doron, the gift itself. So, and then you'll see the little note here, altos agrees with the noun it modifies in case, number, and gender. In English translation, choose the gender of the reflexive pronoun based on the natural gender of the word altos modifies. So you'll see, hey, ecclesia alte is the church itself or herself. Ego altos, I, myself. So even though this is important, because ego altos, even though altos is the third-person pronoun, it basically, it sacrifices its third-person nature in order to play an intensive role for ego. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's going to be I, myself, rather than I, his self.
So altos can be translated as he, she, it, itself, herself, and so forth, depending on how it's...
Well, yeah, when it's functioning as a pronoun,
Okay.
it can only be translated as third person. He, she, it, they, them, okay?
Right.
But when it's functioning as an adjective, an adjectival intensive, it can be translated in the first person, second person, third person. It can be translated as any of them.
Like, it could be translated...
as a first person intensive pronoun. And that's the example we get at the bottom of page 102. It says ego altos.
Mm-hmm.
Literally, that means I, he. That's literally what that means. That's a first person pronoun with a third person pronoun.
Right.
But because altos is functioning as an adjectival intensive there, it means I myself. And so you're translating autos as myself.
Right. Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
It's just something, it's another piece of information that you got to keep your eyes open for
Right.
when you're translating.
So it will usually like come before or after the subject?
Yeah, you remember the adjective rules? Do you remember the decision tree?
Yes.
You're going to have to use the decision tree on this. Because this is when autos is functioning like an adjective, not like a pronoun.
Okay.
So if it's as an adjectival intensive, it normally is going to be in the predicate position. Some of it's indicated also by context. Matter of fact, context is going to be a big indicator. It's either going to make sense or it's not.
Okay.
But you can also get some help by its position. If it's in the predicate position, it's generally going to be an adjectival intensive. Not always, but generally. And when it's in the attributive position, that's when you get 12.11 on page 103. Generally, it's going to be in the attributive position. Not always. And that's going to be translated as the same.
I guess like when you say attributive position, you mean like I just need to look at those rules again.
Yes, you do. Because attributive, if you look, the big difference here is, remember for the adjective, it's the article.
Right.
If you notice in the predicate position, remember the adjective does not have, autos does not have an article.
Right.
But the noun does. And so it's it's predicating, which with autos means it's reflexive, the apostle himself. But if you look over at 12.11, what you notice is autos there, auton, has the article.
Right.
Okay, but it has a noun without the article, which means that it's functioning attributively. And when it's in that attributive position with the article, matter of fact, I'll just say, I mean, I could be wrong, but I'll just say, and if I am wrong, then you guys can be like, hey, that's stupid, Joseph, and it's not going to matter because I'm not getting a grade for this. But what I'll say, and the rule I've always lived by, and it's worked for me well, is that if you ever see autos with an article, it means the same, period. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That helps. If you ever see it with an article, it just means the same.
Yeah. So, like with the example below it.
Yeah.
So, in Alte.
Okay.
Notice that there's no article with autos in this example. This shows that the anarthrous autos can function as an
identical adjective.
Okay.
What Mounts is saying is that pretty much if there's an article, it will be the same. However, without an article, it doesn't rule out that it's not the same.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So, Tiffany, I see you seem to have some struggle staying on. Yeah, I'm sorry. Listen, Tiffany, we're talking about probably the hardest part to get of the chapter, and I want to make sure you get this before you drop out or miss connection. But in 12.9, 10, and 11, we're talking about the adjectival intensive and the identical adjective functions of autos. And for some, this is a hard concept to grasp. Is there anything specific for you?
For me, I think that actually, just from translating, I have this. I looked through it a couple times, and I think that just for whatever reason, I might be one of those brains that it clicks with, because I've done this in translating. It seems okay.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the easy rule is anytime you see an article with autos, it means the same. That's just the easy rule. And if you don't see an article with autos, but it looks like it's modifying a noun, it's typically going to be reflexive unless that doesn't work in context. And then it could be the same. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Yeah. One
So,
question I do have,
yeah.
and it's not related specifically to the chapter, but how do we know, is this indicating that this is a third declension?
Absolutely.
Okay, so all of the nouns that have that second part is indicating third declension.
Um, hold on one second. I want to make sure what I tell you is true.
Okay.
Yes. If it gives you, if on the card it gives you the entire word for the genitive and not just the ending, then it's telling you it's third declension.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah.
Also, if it's ending with a consonant, don't you know it's third declension as well? That's just how I've been doing it.
Yeah. If the
root.
if the root ends with a consonant, it is third declension. That's the definition of third declension.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah. Good. So, are we good with that? Do we have questions? Do you want to go over parsing, vocab, or translation?
Does anyone want to do anything specific?
Just so you know, your quiz will be in the same format it has always been. So you'll have a page of grammar and you'll have a page of parsing.
Mm-hmm.
And the parsing will be a mix of a mix of nouns.
No verbs?
Wait a minute. Don't quote me on that. I
No verbs. If there's no verbs, I won't be happy.
Really quick. Let's just say that that you really want to focus on your nouns and adjectives this week. Okay. So and you definitely want to focus on this your third declension stuff and just having it down.
Okay. Can we do some parsing?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Who's your TA for Hebrew, Joseph?
We don't have one.
Oh.
For exegesis, we don't have.
Oh, okay.
But for grammar, I had Alyssa.
That's right.
Great. Yeah. She was fantastic.
Cool. Okay. To use. Wait, no. What is that? Jesus?
Yep.
I don't know this word.
Is this a recent vocab? Oh yeah, it's a chapter 12 vocab.
Okay, so I'm looking at it. It's an adjective.
That's not important for parsing.
Right. So I can't think. Okay, hold on. It's a genitive. Is it genitive?
You tell me. What do you think?
Okay, it's accusative plural.
Good.
And it's masculine.
Okay.
Coming from hassas.
Yes. Good. You got that? I mean, don't get confused. Why were you thinking it was genitive?
Because I saw Omicron, Upsilon, and just, I don't know, that's just where my mind went.
Okay.
I'm a little, I don't know, I haven't really been studying as much this week, so I'm a little rusty.
Okay. Well, unrust yourself by Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yep. All right. Anybody? The next one?
Matt, you want to do it?
Oh, thank you for volunteering me.
Now you have to.
So that would be. Is that also accusative plural? I don't. I haven't. I don't know the vocab yet, and so.
Okay.
Is that accusative plural? And. Is that? I don't think it's neuter. I think it's either masculine or feminine.
What word is that?
Am I off? Is that masculine?
It is masculine.
What word is that?
Can you tell me, or do you want me to tell you?
I'm trying to find it in the vocab. Am I not? Is it?
It's in chapters 12's vocab. It is page 105, the second to last.
Oh. That's right.
It is one of your dental words.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's a third declension. It's accusative, masculine plural, from the word poos. Which,
Wait.
so go ahead, Matthew.
Okay, it's from poos.
Yes, poos. Which the root is pod, so it's a dental.
Okay.
Which we get our word podiatry from. So. Or, yeah, it means foot, so podiatrist, right?
Right.
Makes sense. Yeah. So let's finish this. All right, Aaron.
All right, Manois.
Yes.
I don't know this word.
You can probably reverse engineer it, whether you know it or not.
Okay.
Start with the end of the word and work backwards. Tell me what it looks like.
I know it's dative plural.
Okay.
I
You should be able, based on that ending, you should be able to tell me what type of declension it is.
it's type of declension, neuter.
Okay, well, I'm saying like whether it's a second declension, third declension, first declension.
It's a second declension.
Yeah, it has to be, right?
Right.
Yeah. Okay, now give me the gender.
So now it's neuter
Or
or masculine.
right, because the masculine and the neuter look exactly the same, and the genitive and the dative.
Right.
So it can be either one.
And the genitive or the dative?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Yes, you're right.
Okay.
It means alone from manas.
Good. Manas. Which also makes sense. Alone. You're mono, all by yourself.
Nice.
Yep. That's how I remember it.
Or like monastery.
Monastery. Isolated, alone. Good.
That's a good one, Matt.
Yeah, that is good. All right, Matt, you're on like Donkey Kong.
Thinking through this. So that's going to be is that going to be dative?
Okay.
Um, yeah, I'm confused. I need help here.
Okay. Why, Matt, why can it not be dative? What do we know about dative?
When I see iota at the end, I start thinking dative.
Well, that's not a bad thing, but if it doesn't have a sigma before it, then, well, Matt, you're not wrong except for the omicron there. It's not a third declension. If it's not a third declension, and it's a second declension, then the iota has to subscript to be dative.
So really, in my thinking, the first step that I need to think is, what is the lexical form of this, so that I can derive the declension before I get confused.
That's always good. If you can look at a word, regardless of the way it's shaped, and you can look at a word and you say, I know that word, and you can pull that word up in your head, you began with all the information in the world. That's perfect. But if you don't know the lexical form, you should be able to start at the back of the word, and by the ending, you should be able to sift through the data in your head. Again, you don't want to pile all the data on it. You don't want to put that on it. You want to break the word up in pieces and let it filter through what you know. So when I see an omicron iota ending, I immediately start thinking masculine plural, nominative. I see that hoi ending, and because I know my article for masculine plural, nominative, is hoi, I immediately go, wait a minute, that looks very suspicious to me. It looks like a nominative plural masculine ending.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And that's because anytime now that's kind of an until proven guilty type of a thing. I've got kind of a set standard of things in my head, and they're not always right. But when I see a word and I see that omicron iota, I will jump to nominative plural masculine, and then I'll look at the rest of the word to prove me wrong about that.
Okay.
But yeah, those little triggers. If I see an iota subscript, I'll be honest, even with verbs, like if I don't recognize right off the bat it's a verb, and I see an iota subscript, I immediately think dative noun in my head because I'm just trained. Iota subscript, I'm thinking singular dative noun. And then I look at the rest of the word and make it prove to me, no, this is actually a verb, which makes it either, depending on what mood, it makes it either a second or a third person singular.
Okay.
Because that can subscript as well. So I let the word filter through the information of what I know
Okay.
by breaking it in its pieces. So, yeah. So that word is from ophthalmos, and it's a nominative plural masculine word.
Okay.
Joseph, I have a question.
Yes.
So, for pronouns, like first and second person
Mm-hmm.
in 11.6, so when we parse that, there's no gender. Do we put, like, we'll just put nominative, singular, or we have to write first person or second person? Or is it just nominative, singular, lexical form?
I'm sorry. Say that one more time.
Okay. So you know how with the pronouns in 11.6 there's no gender?
Right. Right.
So when we parse that, will we just put nominative, singular, or I mean, will we put the case, number, and person?
I would like to direct you to 11.9 on 93, page
Okay.
93.
Oh, okay. Yeah, there it goes.
Case, number, person, not gender, first, second person,
Okay.
lexical form, and inflected meaning. So,
Okay.
no, you're not asked for inflected meaning here. You should know it.
Got it.
Cool?
Yeah, okay.
Yes. Yes. So, so yeah, you guys have this. You just, at this point, is where people start getting overwhelmed with how much information there is.
I'm at that point.
Yeah, you start confusing yourself. You start looking at words going, oh God, that could be a billion different things. Whereas if you looked at that word 3 weeks ago, because you didn't know all those other things, you'd be going, oh yeah, that's easy. I got it figured out,
Yeah.
Not a big deal because there's less information for you to filter through. You need to find a way in your head to organize your information to where when you break a word apart, it's not overwhelming. You just let it fall through that filter, and then you can figure it out.
Yeah. Could we do some translations?
Let's do it. I'm all over it. All right. On chapter 11, I'm going to let you guys guide me. 11 or 12? Or both us.
Like, can we do like a few in both?
Yeah, let's do it. You guide me, Aaron. Where do you want to go? Number 10?
Yeah. Matt, is there a translation that you want to do specifically in chapter 11? Because I haven't done any of them.
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Okay, well then let's tackle the big one. Let's go to 10.
Okay. Why, Joseph? Why?
Because we can.
Maybe you can.
Because we can do it. No, you can't too. You have to believe. Believe in yourself. All right. Number 10. All right. Go ahead and start, Aaron. You can read the first sentence to the period.
Okay. Idu he meter su kai hoi adelophoi?
Adelphoi.
Say that again.
Adelphoi.
Adelphoi. Su kai hi
Hi.
Adelphi Stu Echo Zaytusin Say Seth. Is it Seth?
Yeah, say.
Say.
Okay. So hit me with that sentence.
I don't know what ado means.
What?
I know.
Shut your mouth.
It's however. Is it however?
It's not however, but you do know the word.
I do.
Yeah, it's been a vocab word. Well, you know what? You guys are on track too, so never mind. I'm not going to ever say that confidently again. but Edu should be well within grasp. All right, chapter 11. So it's new vocabulary.
Oh, okay. It means, see, behold. Okay. All right, behold, see.
Behold, it's actually an imperative. So it's kind of like this, look, everybody look.
Okay.
Yeah, so you would typically translate this with like an exclamation point. Like, hey, behold. But it also just means, hey, look here.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Hey, Meter. I don't know this. I don't know any of my vocab.
Well, if pater means
Mother.
is like patriarch, mater would be like matriarch, right?
So, okay, so mother,
Right.
Sue. Okay,
Mhm.
so that means that's a genitive of the. So that would be.
Parse it for me. Go ahead and parse that for me. It's good practice.
So it's genitive, singular, second person.
Good. Good.
So it means like it's possessive. So your
Right.
mother.
Right. Good.
Okay.
Behold.
So your mother.
Your mother. And
Adelphoi, and brothers, and
right.
your brothers.
And your brothers.
Okay.
And a little parentheses here.
And your sisters.
Good.
Your sisters. Echo is have.
It's interesting.
But echo shouldn't be. That's like I have, and we're dealing with more than one person.
Wait 1 second, Aaron.
Okay.
Okay. Aaron, that's not a verb. I didn't think it was.
Oh, it's not a verb?
No, it's not a verb. And you know what? You're not.
Oh, it's an adverb.
There you go.
So it looks like does it look like the verb though?
It kind of. It almost like in my immediate mind, it looks like.
Echo.
Well, it looks like the future form of echo, which would have a sigma there.
Oh. Okay.
But it can't be. So.
Okay, so that's either an adverb or a preposition.
Okay.
Okay, so zaytusin is the verb.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man. Wait, no, is that the verb?
I would. You tell me.
It is the verb. I don't know this. I know this verb, but I don't know
Did you
this
know
verb.
it?
I should know the verb.
Hey, Aaron, just take that word for me and parse it, and don't get overwhelmed.
Okay.
Just break the word down. Look at the things that tell you what it should be.
Okay. I know it's dative. Okay. I know it's dative, plural. Wait, hold on.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds good in the filter, but
Wait, no, it's a verb. It's a verb.
It's right. It's a verb,
Okay, I
and
know,
that
okay.
would sound good as a noun, and I can understand that. But
Sorry.
yeah, there's a circumflex over the upsilon. I wonder what that means.
Okay. So it's a contract verb.
Good call.
So, all right.
So find its lexical form. Give me a lexical form.
Yeah, it's zeteo. It's his lexical
Perfect.
form.
Perfect.
Zeteo.
So
Okay.
work from there. What's the word?
So it's present, active, indicative, third person plural.
Perfect.
So
It sounds like we got a whole bunch of subjects there. Because
yeah.
there's plural mother, or not, there's a mother, there's plural brothers, there's plural sisters. It sounds like there's just a bunch of people as the subject.
So like basically they're saying like behold they seek, like all of them seek.
Yeah, they are seeking. It's a continuous. Yeah. So behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are seeking.
Yeah, okay. And is it you?
That sounds good to me. That's a
So
second.
what do you do with that? With that?
Exo. Well, you said it was an adverb. So what is it?
It's without you.
Or possibly it's talking about, it's giving location.
Outside.
There you go.
Okay, so behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are seeking outside you.
Probably not that, but they're probably seeking you outside.
Okay.
Like they're outside and they want you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but not bad. That's good.
No, that was awful.
No, it's really good. Okay, Matthew, can you hit the next sentence?
Here, I took a bathroom break and I've been trying to figure out where y'all are.
We're on number 10 on page
Matt, you
197
can't
of
take
the
bathroom
workbook.
breaks. I'm just kidding.
On page 1, what?
97 of the workbook.
You can't leave me hanging like that.
I mean, you threw me under the bus a little bit earlier.
Oh my gosh, I was giving you a turn. I was trying to play nice in the sandbox.
Wow.
All right. Number 10 on page 197.
Yep. And Aaron did
I had
the first
a family
sentence.
thing that happened a few weeks ago, and so I just took like 3 quizzes last week. I had an extension to be caught up, so I'm incredibly rusty.
That's awesome.
So
I would think if you took 3 quizzes, you'd be like on it.
oh no! You're saying I did well on the 3 quizzes.
I do assume that, Matthew. Yes.
Yeah, that's lofty.
Yeah.
Lofty assumption. So
Yeah, she already did this section. So she said, it says, behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are seeking you outside. Are outside, or probably are outside seeking you. Yeah.
Gotcha. And so you want me to start from
Kai, and take us through the ellipses.
all right. So apokrythes, altois, lege, tis, estin, he, mater, mu, kai, hoi, adel, thoi, mu.
Right.
All right. So that apokrythes. Let me start by parsing that.
Well, it gives you the answer to that.
I'm sorry?
I said you're not going to be. Yeah. Anyway, it gives you the verb there, but you can do that. So parse it.
Yeah, it's fine. I'll be fine without it.
Okay.
Answering altois. So
Altois.
that is that dative plural?
Yes. From what word?
From altos. Oh, you mean what's the antecedent?
Well, yeah, I could ask that.
Oh gosh.
That's actually a good exercise. What is the antecedent of altois?
So I'd have to look through all the nouns and see what the last dative plural was.
Mm-mm. Yeah, well, I mean, you could, but remember, yeah.
Actually, rather the last plural, not
Right.
dative.
It can't, because remember, your pronouns take its case according to its function in the sentence, not its antecedent.
Right. And so the last...
Gender and number, so you could say masculine plural. I could go back and look at masculine plurals.
Masculine or even neuter. Wouldn't I be interested in what's neuter as well?
Could be, but I doubt it if he's answering.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
And so is Adelphoi, is that?
Well, here's the sentence. Behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are outside seeking you. And he answering them.
So it's got to be like that whole crowd of mothers, brothers, and sisters.
I don't think so, because who's he answering? Is he answering his
brothers? It has to be the brothers because it's masculine.
Well, see, that would make sense, but except for the fact that it doesn't make sense grammatically or syntactically, because he's not actually talking to the brothers right now. He just knows they're looking for him. Who's he talking to?
Oh.
We don't actually get the antecedent.
Right.
It's earlier.
Okay.
Yeah, it's the guys who come up to tell him that your mother, your brothers, and your sisters are outside. He's talking to them, and so the antecedent of altois are those guys, the disciples.
Gotcha. Okay.
The ones who came up to tell him that they're outside.
It's really a trick question.
Kinda, but it's not bad to think through as you think through antecedents that there's a real root to who altois is talking about. And this is going to become really important when you're in exegesis, because you're going to have to connect all those things and find where it's ambiguous, because with ambiguity could come theological importance. So, with ambiguity, not ambiguity. So, okay, so finish the sentence. Kai apokrites altois lege.
Okay, so lege, that would be that third singular.
Finish it up.
So, answering them.
Excuse me. Can you finish the parsing of lege? You started that.
Third singular. Oh. Would that be? That's going to be primary ending, and it's going to be that kind of first quadrant, and so that's going to be present active indicative.
Right.
Gotcha. So.
Third singular.
So answering them, he is like, let me see. Present active indicative would be he says.
Yeah, he is saying. It's like a continuous.
Right.
But for this, you know as good as anybody else that it's just he said. Answering them, he said. It was present tense to him, but we're looking back on it.
Right.
So that's good. Yeah.
He said.
Tis.
Estin. Now, I'm going to have to flip through my book to find Estin.
What? No way. You've got that memorized.
Well, no, but that's that paradigm, isn't it? What am I thinking?
Right. That's what I'm saying. You got it memorized in your head, right?
No. It's supposed to be, but it's not. I'm basically begging you to just tell me what Estin is. If I look it up, I can find it. What?
Yeah. Amy A. Estin.
Right. Okay, so it's third singular,
Mm-hmm.
which makes sense.
Hold on. Yeah. Iceman, Iceman, Este. Yeah.
And then that's the nominative singular. That's the nominative singular article may tear.
Right.
I'm guessing that's mother.
Yes.
So I'm guessing that's nominative singular.
I imagine it is. It definitely is according to the paradigm at the end of 11.
And then mu is my, so my mother. And Adelphoi.
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 Yeah.
And
Hey, welcome back, Sharon.
she runs away when it might be her turn, and then she
I know
comes.
that. I noticed that when I asked for volunteers, she dropped out.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't that. I'm driving and I lost reception.
Oh, okay.
My reception is really crappy where I'm at.
This takes it to a new level. You know, you're not supposed to text and drive, but video, Greek tutoring, and driving is okay.
I'm parked. I'm
Oh,
parked.
okay.
See, look, I'm still. See the mailbox?
I believe you. I believe you.
Adelphoi. Okay.
What you got?
Okay. And Adelphoi.
Whispering it makes it better.
Helps me think.
Yeah, there you go.
Adelphoi.
Look at page 96 in your book, Matthew.
Adelphoi. Okay, thank you.
Every time I see Omicron Iota, I think in my head.
What do you think in your head?
I think of a masculine plural. That's
Masculine
just
plural.
nominative, yeah.
Okay. So, nominative, masculine, plural. So, Adelphoi, that's brothers, isn't it?
It is. Good call.
So, answering them, he said, these are my mother and my brothers.
Does that make sense? Hey, can you tell me what this little semicolon back here means?
Oh, it's the semicolon, that's a question mark, isn't it?
Yeah, it should help you define tis because you're not getting that right.
Gotcha.
That'll change the whole sentence.
Answering them, he said, are these my mother and my brothers?
Where are you getting these?
That's a good question.
I don't think you know that word yet.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. This and these would be hautos, hutos, haute, tuta. And you don't have that yet.
Okay.
Well,
So
I've had that.
you have had that?
Yeah.
Really?
Mhm.
Where is that?
That was a long time ago. I don't really remember.
I'm sorry. No, I'm saying chapter 13. You knew the vocab. Is that right?
Yeah.
You just haven't learned the full demonstrative yet.
That is right.
Okay. All right. Well, okay, I take that back. You do know it, Matthew, but that's not the word that's there.
Right.
These would be hutos.
All
So
right.
what do we have here? You do know this word.
Yeah.
But it makes sense with the question. Think about the question. Out of context, you should be able to define the word.
So, You said
If it's a question and it says blank,
who? Oh, who are my?
there you go. Who is?
Who is?
Yeah. You got to
Well.
get that is right. Estin is definitely is, not are. If it were plural, it'd be are, but since this is a third singular, it has to be is.
Gotcha.
Who is my mother and my brothers?
Cool.
Question mark. Yep. All right, so what we have so far is, behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are outside looking for you or seeking you. And answering to them, he said, who is my mother and my brothers? Now, Aaron, you're back on.
Okay. So, Ida, a mater, mu, kai, oi, adelphoi, mu.
Wow, you lucked out with that sentence. I'm going to give you the next sentence, too.
Okay. Has, gar, on, poi, esse,
Yeah.
esse, to, or is it ta?
It's either one. Ta works.
Okay, ta, they, ama, they'll ama,
Yeah. Thelema.
thelema,
Yep.
to, theu,
Right.
hautos, adelphos, mu, kai, adelphe, kai, mater, estin.
Okay. Hit it.
So Ida is see, behold, my mother and my brothers. Who, gar is for or then, correct?
For, yeah. Good job with for. Yeah.
For who, okay.
Have you learned on yet?
It's the untranslatable inflected particle.
Right.
My book.
Yep, good call.
So,
And it generally makes something very general.
okay, what do you mean general?
Well, like if you've got who, if it comes after who, it might make it whoever. Instead of it being specific, it makes it ambiguous.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
it is, yeah. So,
Okay, so I'm just going to look at the verb. He, she, it does.
Sure, perfect.
So the subject is going to be he. So he does.
It would be a third person, but I don't think it's he. Because you're supplied a subject, Aaron.
I am.
Yes, you are.
What is my subject? Oh,
Whoever.
whoever.
Yeah, because you've got has on, which is a third person singular, whoever.
Okay.
So you got for whoever does, good.
Okay. Whoever does ta thelema. I don't know what thelema is.
Okay, it's probably a recent vocab word.
I don't see it.
You don't? I see it on page 97.
97.
Yep, which is chapter 11 vocab.
Okay, so whoever does the will of God.
Good.
My brother and my sister. Okay, so whoever does the will of God. I see Estin, so I want to say they are my.
If it were plural, but I don't see where you're getting they.
Yeah, so it's not plural.
It can't be. Eston's not plural. Eston is a singular.
So it's he, she, it, are, or is.
Is, right, but you're given a subject again.
So this is.
Right. This one is.
This one is my brother and my sister and my mother.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, and you probably, I mean, you could add the possessive to each of them, but if you were to keep it kind of literal, you would say, for whoever does the will of God, this one is my brother and my sister, or my brother and sister and mother.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
So can you put the whole thing together? Can you go back and kind of look through it? And
I can try.
okay.
Behold, your mother and your brothers and your sisters are outside seeking you.
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Wow.
And answering them, he said, who is my mother and my brothers? Behold, my mother and my brothers. He just says that, behold, my mothers and my brothers. He does.
Yeah, you can kind of see them in your head going, my mother, who are my mother and my brothers? Behold, my mothers and my brothers.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, kind of like, look around. They're the ones who do the will. Yeah, so go ahead.
So for whoever does the will of God, this is my brother and my sister and my mother.
Perfect. Good job.
Yeah, the way that you said it in the beginning.
Good job. Perfect. It's always good to go back and kind of do that, because then you can follow it and you can say, hey, I can see how all that's put together.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's helpful.
Good job. All right, what do you think? Are there more that you had issues with, or?
Well, I kind of wanted to do one with Altos with chapter. Wait, was this? Oh no.
Yeah, chapter 12. Okay, let's go to exercise 12.
Well, I mean, if we could just do one real fast so I can see.
Sure. Let me try and find a good one.
I've got to sign off to go be with family.
Bye, brother. Enjoy.
I will see y'all. All right.
Matthew, if you need anything, let me know.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
Bye. Bye. All right, guys.
I just kind of want to see how that's working out with some of the sentences.
Agreed. Okay, let's do number 5.
Okay.
Okay.
Um.
Page 200.
Okay. U pasa sarx te alte sarx. Okay. Oh man, pasa. That's an adjective. No?
No, you're right. I mean, it is.
Oh, I hate this. I don't like this.
But it's only like 6 words.
Yeah, but like, I don't like it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Because I forget what pasa means.
Pasa pon.
Pasa pon. Oh, I don't know. Hold on. It means each. So.
Every or all, right? Each, every, or all.
Okay, so each. What does "u" mean?
You tell me. "U" and "may" are 2.
"U" and "may." So not.
Good. And they negate a verb, which you're not given in this sentence. You have to supply.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming it's going to be "you are not."
Where are you getting you?
I don't know, I'm just making it up.
Okay. All right. Well, you gotta find your subject.
Okay. Flesh.
Good.
So, what I'm getting is not each flesh. Hey, alte, sarx. So that's alte is functioning as an attributive adjective,
Okay.
and so therefore it's like I'm assuming it's itself since it's talking about flesh.
Okay.
So itself flesh. That's what I'm getting out of this sentence.
Okay. Well, you have to supply a verb, and it needs to make sense to me.
Okay. I don't know, Joseph.
You can do this.
Stop. I don't want to work my brain right now.
Okay, listen. When you supply a verb, what is typically the type of verb you supply?
Like,
Do you just make up any verb?
Amy?
Yeah, to be verb. Right.
Be verb.
Yeah, and so it's probably going to be Eston here.
So Eston.
Yeah, so is. So what you need to do is you need to, and you know oo negates it. So what you need to do is you need to use that verb and then put your sentence in order. Put your nominative in front of it or your subject in front of it, and you're going to have a predicate nominative behind it. So do that.
Okay, so my verb is. I don't know what my subject is. Is it sorry?
Well, let's figure that out. Where's the nominative?
Sarx is a nominative.
Yes.
So flesh. So flesh is not.
Good.
Flesh.
So
Flesh
you
is not.
You might want to include that pasa on your subject.
Okay, so every flesh.
All flesh, right?
Okay, all flesh is not flesh itself.
That's a possibility, but let's try the other one.
Itself flesh.
No. Well, okay. Same thing. But what's the other way that you can translate alte? How about if it's functioning attributively, not predicatively? Remember, predicative is when it's reflective, when it's itself, himself, herself.
Right.
That's generally autos without an article. But when autos
right.
does,
Okay. It's same flesh.
good.
Same flesh.
So
Okay.
try that.
So all flesh is not same flesh.
The same flesh.
The
right?
same flesh.
Yeah, all flesh is not the same flesh.
Okay, so again, let me just reiterate this externally. So
Okay.
when there is a definite article, it's functioning as what? Attributive?
Yeah, but that means if autos has an article with it, you can guarantee it means the same.
Right. Okay, article the same.
Right.
So without an article, then you know it's functioning predicate.
It can either be predicative or attributive. But if it has an article, that locks it in. It's going to be the same.
Okay, but if it's yeah.
Remember, if it's functioning in the predicate position, then it's reflective, generally.
When you say reflective, what does that mean?
Himself, herself, itself. I did this myself.
Okay.
It did it itself. My son took it upon himself to do these things. It's a reflective. It comes back at you. Me, myself, and I guess. But the when it's functioning attributively, it's not always reflective. It's saying the same one. The
Okay.
same, flesh, the same word, the same, same thing.
Okay. Can we do one more real fast?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, you pick.
Let's knock it out. I picked the last one.
Well, okay. Sharon, do you want to pick? Do you want to do one? No? Okay.
Hold on,
Um.
I'll find one. Hold on a second.
Okay.
Okay, let's try number 8.
Okay. Um.
We're going to do 8 and 9 before we get off of this call. Okay?
Okay. All right. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
All right.
Ta, alta, gar, e poiun, tois, prophetes, hoi, patret, pateres, I don't
Yes.
know.
Good. That
Okay.
was good. Pateris.
Pateres, altone.
Right.
Okay. So, oh, this is hard. Okay. So I see an article, and I see alta.
Okay.
So I'm assuming that means the same.
You're on like Donkey Kong.
Okay. Okay, for the same apoiun. Oh man.
Start with the verb. Now, I appreciate you wanting to knock down that alta
Yeah.
right at the beginning, but
Yeah.
start with your verb. Let's
Okay.
parse that verb.
Apoiun.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm assuming that's from poieo.
Good. Perfect.
So, all right.
And it looks to me like there's something going on at the front of it.
Yeah. So that means it's imperfect.
Okay.
It's imperfect. And oh man.
Remember that paradigm?
I don't. I'm looking at it. I don't know what to do with this upsilon nu at the end.
Yeah, don't worry about the upsilon because remember it's a contract verb.
Right.
Poieo is a contract, so it's contracting with something.
So it's either going to be like nominative singular or right?
Okay, nominative is not a thing with verbs.
Okay. Wait, what?
Nominative is not a thing with verbs.
Okay. I get so confused.
Not
Okay.
until you get to participles, and then
Ah.
that's going to kick your butt. So,
Okay.
but
Sorry.
you're right. It can either be a first-person singular.
First person singular or third person plural.
Right. So let's look around at subjects and tell me if you find anything that matches one of those. That can help you narrow it down.
Well, I think it's going to be third person plural
Why is that?
because I see I see fathers.
Man, that's where I would go. I mean,
Okay.
to be honest, that's where I would go.
So imperfect, active, indicative, third person, plural.
Good.
Okay.
Good. So now let's try to put a little bit of that together.
Okay, so the subject is, I know the subject is fathers.
Right. Good.
I'm going to say Altone. Is that his fathers?
There. Well, probably there because
Their
alto
fathers.
would be genitive
Yeah,
plural.
their fathers. Yeah, their fathers. Poieo means I do.
Good. Good.
So their fathers, and this is imperfect,
Yes.
and this is active. So are being.
Yeah, but imperfect is what? Anything with an augment is what?
Were.
Yes, were.
So,
that past tense.
Okay, so their fathers were, and it's continuous.
Right, past continuous.
So are doing, or
Were.
were doing.
Right.
Their fathers were doing
Yes.
the same. And then tois, prophetes is dative. So to the prophets.
Yes. So put it together.
So their fathers.
For their fathers, not so.
For their fathers
Right.
were doing the same thing
Good things.
as their prophets.
Why would
As
it
the prophets.
as to?
As to the prophets.
Right. So it's for their fathers were doing the same things to the prophets.
The same things.
Yeah,
Okay.
it has to be plural because that ta al ta is a plural
Right.
neuter. Yeah.
Okay, so for their fathers were doing the same things
Right.
as to the prophet.
Not as to. Just they were doing the same things to the prophets.
Oh, to the prophets. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, let's do number 9.
9. Let's hit it.
Okay. Autos de Iesus uk epistuin auton autois.
Right. Good.
Okay. But okay, all right. I'm going to start with the verb.
Okay.
Epistuin.
Yep.
Okay. All right, so it's imperfect. It's coming from pistuo.
Good.
It's imperfect. It's active, indicative.
Mm-hmm.
So third person singular. So the subject is Jesus. Okay, so it's going to be Jesus was believing.
Well, read your note there.
Okay. Oh, and trusting.
Okay.
Okay. Jesus was not entrusting. Jesus himself was not entrusting.
Right.
Auton autois. Okay. How do I do this? Oh my goodness.
You gotta use your creative brain. You gotta think what makes sense in the context and what is it saying.
All right. So auton is in the neuter. So I'm thinking it's it or itself.
Okay, why is it in the neuter?
Because it ton at the end.
I mean, if I saw ta, I might think it's neuter.
Oh, it's accusative. So it's probably
Still masculine.
okay. So him or okay. So Jesus, but Jesus was not Jesus, but Jesus himself was not entrusting.
Hey, what if you, just for fun, what if you were to take this auton, very similar to the first autos? What if you made it reflexive?
But I already made it reflexive.
Well, make this one reflexive too. Just play with it. See what happens.
Okay, so but Jesus himself was not entrusting himself to them?
Makes sense to me.
Okay. How do I know that? I just
Well, contextually, but Jesus himself was not entrusting him to them. Could be a thing, but in the context of John 2:24, it's going to be himself.
Okay, so I know it's reflexive.
Okay.
I just have to process this out loud. So I know it's reflexive because it doesn't have an article. I'm trying to think of how to think through this. It doesn't have an article, so therefore it's probably going to be reflexive or it's going to be a pronoun. Is that a right way of thinking about it?
Yes. I mean, keep in mind, the book does say that it can not have an article and still be the same also.
But most of the time it will have an article if it's the same.
Okay. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, but listen, this is the issue, Aaron, is that this would have been a lot more obvious if you would have known the antecedent of Auton. Because if the antecedent was somebody else, it would make sense to just be him. Jesus did not entrust him, like Peter, to them.
Okay.
But because in the context of John 2, which you're not given here, so this is a little unfair, because in the context of John 2, Jesus, the antecedent of Auton is actually Jesus.
Okay.
And Jesus is not entrusting, and the only way to make that make sense is himself.
Why is John emphasizing Jesus like this? Jesus himself.
He wants to bring out the idea. Like, listen to the way the ESV translates John, and I'm going to start in verse 23, so you get a little bit. Now, when he was in Jerusalem at the Passover feast, many believed in his name when they saw the signs that he was doing. But Jesus, on his part, is how the ESV says it. When we know it says, but Jesus himself did not entrust himself to them, because he knew all people and needed no one to bear witness about man, for he himself knew what was in man.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think, like, what's the point of emphasizing Jesus that way? I mean, I understand, but then I'm like, well, why is he saying Jesus himself?
Because he wants an emphasis on Jesus.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it's absolutely emphatic. Most of your pronouns are emphatic. I mean, if you think about it, if a pronoun is the subject of a verb, they didn't need it in the first place because the verb already has it. Right?
Right. So there's like emphatics all over the place here.
Right. If you see a pronoun, I mean, it may not be, but you see a pronoun, it needs to at least be clicking in your head that the author's probably being emphatic here, because he doesn't have to supply the pronoun, especially if it's the subject of a verb. He doesn't have to provide that pronoun.
Right.
Pronouns are important as objects of verbs, but
Okay.
as subjects of verbs, they're already built into the verb. There's no, like, if the author puts it there, he's being redundant.
Okay.
So
autos can serve as a pronoun, as a
right.
adjectival, intensive, and as
Right.
what's that last one?
Attributive, intensive. Yeah. So it's what's the wording they use? They say identical adjective.
Identical adjective, so the same.
Yeah, the same.
Most of the time, there's going to be an article with identical adjectives.
If there is an article, you know it's an identical adjective. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and then with adjectival intensive, okay, I'm just looking at the examples.
Yeah, there's no article there.
There's no article there.
Yep, and it usually sits in the predicate position.
Okay. No article, predicate.
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
All right, girl.
Thanks, Joseph. I appreciate it.
Good luck this week. Get on your vocab.
I will. All right. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too.
Bye.
Bye.